Hey guys, Jacob Dupre here at Sweetwater. This is the Yamaha CP73 stage piano. It does have 73 keys, and they're balanced hammer standard action key bed, so that means you get a weighted key bed. I like the feel of it. It's maybe kind of in the middle range for weight, you know, that maybe played heavier key beds than this, but it feels really nice for playing grand pianos, acoustic pianos, but also will work really well for synthesizers too. One of the features I like about this keyboard is seamless sound switching. So what that means is when you switch between one sound to another, you won't lose the sound from the previous patch, right? So for instance, I have any sound drawn up from the three main sections. And just so you know, there's grand pianos, electric pianos, and then there's a subsection that has different synthesizers, chromatic percussion, organs, all that other stuff. So being a stage piano, of course you want to check out those grand piano sounds, and you get three main ones that come ready to go on the keyboard. So the first one is a Yamaha classic, the CFX. Now the second one you get the Imperial, so that's a Bosendorfer grand piano. And I really like the quality of this one, especially pay attention to like the lower end. There's like some really cool resonance going on down there. Then you get the S700, which has a different sound from the other two altogether. In addition to grands, you also have some upright pianos. Here's the second one. I kind of like to do a thing with the effects section, which you might notice you have a set of 4 effects you can add to the piano engine. So you have compression, distortion, drive, and chorus. If you go on and you add a little bit of drive to it, you can kind of give the piano like almost like an older kind of player piano style, right? So here's dry, and then with drive on. You know, and you can add some distortion if you want to. I actually quite like that. That's pretty cool. There's also chorus as well. The piano section also allows you to turn damper resonance on and off, and I think you can tell the difference between it. It adds like a new richness, and you can really hear a sense of realism in the sound. So this is with damper resonance on, which has been on this whole time. And then I'll turn it off. You also get a few CP sounds, so here's CP81. It's also a layered piano section, so here's a classic piano and strings. Changing the octave is really easy in the piano section, and actually all three sections, all three sound engines have the same setup with split and with octave. I'll talk about split in a second. But the octave, so it's set at 0 right now. None of the LED lights are lit up. But if I click down into the negative range, now I go down an octave. Click it again, now I'm down 2 octaves. And of course the other way, I'm up an octave. Now I'm up another octave. So it could be really easy, you know, if I'm playing something right here, I want it to sound higher. You know, it's super simple. There's no like complicated internal memory or extra buttons or something or a menu you have to go into. It's just right there and easy to use. You also have a tone knob which will, you know, help you brighten up your sound or, you know, kind of make it a little more subtle if you want to. So this is with tone all the way down on the S700. So with the tone all the way up, it allows you to project. The electric piano section gives you a lot of classic options. You have Rhodes, Whirly section, Clav, and DX sounds. So of course, starting with a classic 78 Rhodes. Another thing to note is each section, we already talked about the tone knob, but you also have a volume knob for each section. So if you decide to layer, you know, and I was just looking here thinking maybe I could change this volume, well, it's nice because you don't have to go and just change the master volume for, you know, say I'm just on electric pianos, I want it to be a little quieter. I can leave that alone and I can just turn it up here. Which really helps when you're layering sounds as well. Just like the grand piano section has some effects, the electric piano has effects, even more of them actually. So it starts with auto pan, and you get depth and rate, of course, for the both of those. You can make it really, really deep if you want to. Tremolo, which does sound quite nice on like a Rhodes or maybe a Whirly. Ring modulator, which is everybody's favorite weird sounding effect. Probably going to want to use that sparingly. Can get some cool effects if you hold something and then play with the rate. You also get T-wah, so that's going to respond, a wah that's going to respond to the touch or the dynamic you play. I love the wahs on Clav sounds because that's just such a cool sound. The other wah you get is pedal wah, so I have a Yamaha expression pedal here, and that will respond, of course, to what I do with the pedal. In the second row of effects, you get chorus. You have chorus 1 and 2, actually, so this is chorus 1. Chorus 2. Flanger, another classic effect. So on that first row, you get depth and rate, but here you get depth and speed. So you can hear what happens when I change the speed knob. Again, you can get some more goofy sounds if you want them. You have phaser. You actually have 3 phasers. Phaser 1, 2, and 3. Let's try this maybe with a DX sound. So this is DX Legend. Phaser 2, Phaser 3, if you want to add a little drive to give it that dirty, crunchy electric piano sound, you have that available too. So here in drive, just very simple. Turn it up to about here. You start getting that buzz, that crunch. The third sound section is called sub, and that gives you 4 different categories. So you get pad strings, organ, chromatic percussion, and others, which include some things like bass. Like you get acoustic bass, electric bass, steel guitar, stuff like that. The first sound in the pad string category is Mellow Pad, a real classic sound. Might actually want to add a little more reverb to this. The reverb section is really simple. Also, it's got time and depth, and you switch it on just with the toggles like all the other sections. So now reverb is on. I'm going to bring the time and the depth up a little bit. I'll cycle through a few of them for you now. Number 2, this one's called Spectrum. Then you get, this one's called Back Pad. You also get, this one's called Air Choir, so this is kind of a different quality from all the others put together. The organ section you have, this one's called Bright Bars. You get click organ. This one's Draw Organ 1. Here's all bars out. Now you do get some other interesting ones too. So here's a 60s combo. The subsection has 4 effects also. So you have chorus, flanger, you have rotary, and you have tremolo and distortion. One cool thing you can do with the rotary effect is you can kind of get that sound that you might hear, you know, with a Leslie on an organ. So if you just kind of play with the depth and the speed. So here's with just a dry organ sound, also with the reverb off too. So that's all bars out, that organ sound. Then if I turn the rotary on, tremolo sounds quite nice with some of the chromatic percussion, so I could go get on a vibraphone, and then you just engage it just like this, circle around. Now I'm on tremolo. Turn up the speed or depth if I want. The other section, again, is where you get stuff like basses and synth bass and acoustic bass, things like that. So here's Synth Lead 1. Also note you've got a pitch bender over here. Second one, Synth Lead 2. You can play your video game cover band with that sound really well. You can also get a synth bass. Go one more, now we get into just a classic electric bass. Now, when you start getting into the basses like that, you know, you start thinking, well, I might want to split a bass with, say, a grand piano sound or something like that. Well, let's talk about split. Split is really easy. Each section has its own octave switch, and right next to that is the split, and they're designed the same way for all three sections. So let's say I want to put the electric bass in the left hand. Well, now I've got it there, but I've only got that on, so that's where the split point is. So now I want to put something on the right. I can go over here and say, I want to do a grand piano. Let's do the digi piano, sure. So now I've got that. But let's say I'm playing a little bit. I don't like where that split point is for whatever reason. I click split point. Setting the point is really easy. So you just click split point and then you click the note on the keyboard where you want it to be. So say I want that split point to be on this B right here. There it is. And the panel will show up and show you where the split point is where you just set. So now click split point to get out, and now I've got my new point. You get a couple guitars, steel guitar. Clean guitar. You also get a synth brass, which can be a useful one if you need that. So I switch on the delay, and I've got it on the subsection. And I've got marimba up right now, so this is digital delay. I can turn up the time, the feedback, and the depth if I'd like to. Another thing you can do that's really cool with delay is, again, I can set it on piano, electric piano, sub, or all three. So if I want to create a layer, which is really easy, I just have to toggle all of the different sections on. And now I can have a layer of CP72, let's say, a whirly, and then the marimba, all three together. Last thing you get on this side is an equalizer, which is a master equalizer that will affect the whole keyboard. And you also get a setting for the mid, so you can put what frequency you want it at. So I like to use this a lot, like with a grand piano sound. If I want to solo and I want to really project, I can turn up the highs and the mids and make it project a little more. So here's just the basic sound. Then I turn up the highs and the mids a bit. And I can sweep that mid frequency if I want to. Live sets allow you to call up sounds really quickly that you can set yourself. You can save them. You can do a whole thing with, I want to layer these two sections and add some effects and then save it. And you can recall it whenever you want it in a gig or whatever. So you're in live set. Number 1 is CFX. Number 2, Imperial. Go to number 6. That's a Funky Road. Number 8 is a Clav. So see that, you can just see how that would make it really easy to pull it up on a gig. Now, you get, that's just the first page, but you get all the way through, if you page through, you get 20 pages of presets you can make, live sets, and you get 8 in each page, right? And the last 10 are actually open, but the first 10 are already set. Another neat feature called panel lock helps you with a problem that I know I've had, which is when you're playing and you're really going to town, you're maybe soloing, and you accidentally hit something, and you turn off a sound engine, or you change a sound or something, and you're like, ugh, it just gets you, especially in the middle of a performance. So if you click panel lock, now any buttons I press won't change. So I could have something, you know, super complicated up. I could have all 3 engines, I could have delay and reverb, I could have the EQ on. And if I have panel lock, none of my settings will change until I switch it back off. And now I can change it. The CP73 also is a 2-channel USB audio MIDI interface, so you can use that for audio recording, playback, and MIDI control. The I/O includes balanced XLR and unbalanced 1/4-inch stereo outputs, and also has a dual 1/4-inch aux line input. This has been a look at the Yamaha CP73 stage piano. If you have any questions, you can call your Sweetwater sales engineer, and remember to like, subscribe, and comment below. Thanks for watching.